Day 2. Develop a vision. The process of transforming an existing business into an asset of value include 4 steps. Complete a valuation of the business in its present form. Identify value detractors, the factors that detract value from the business. Develop a vision of what the business must look like in 3 to 5 years. And craft an exit strategy aimed at realizing value for the current owner of the business. On day 1, we considered the current state of things, namely the value the business represents to the current owner, specifically the income derived from the business, the low or fire sale value of the business, what the owner will realize by liquidating the business in its present form, and the high or profitability multiplier value, the theoretical value of the business as though no shortcomings exist. We also considered the factors, value detractors, that erode the value of the business. Now, on day 2, we must develop a vision of what the business should look like in 3 to 5 years to attract the favorable attention of investors. Start with your number. How much money do you want for your business? You may already have a number in mind. Alternatively, you may consider the following question. How much capital do I need to secure an acceptable post-exit income? What income do I need in 5 years' time? Let's say you want 70,000 Rand per month or 840,000 Rand per annum. By applying an annuity rate of 9% per annum, which is on the high side, the result is that you require capital of 9.3 million Rand. You must sell your business for this amount to secure an annual income of 840,000 Rand per annum. The next question to ask is, what must my business look like in 5 years' time for an investor to be persuaded that it's worth 9.3 million Rand? There are 2 perspectives to consider: the business's traits and its earnings. Earnings are the fruits and traits are the roots. On day 1, I argued that investors in small businesses demand a high rate of return of about 25% per annum for accepting a high level of investment risk. To persuade an investor to part with 9.3 million Rand, your targeted value for the business, the investment must deliver a return of 25% per annum in the form of earnings amounting to 2.3 million Rand per annum. That is the fruits we are after. Now, before I continue, please remember that the earnings I'm referring to must be adjusted earnings, as described in the first installment, day 1. For this installment, I ignore those complexities and work with 2.3 million Rand as the adjusted earnings. What should your business look like, its traits, that's the roots, for it to generate 2.3 million Rand of earnings per annum? To answer this question, we need to calculate your business's prime number. Every owner should know the prime number for their business. The prime number is the value of earnings generated by the business for every one sale. In other words, what is the value of a single sale for your business? A simplistic way of arriving at the prime number is to divide the adjusted earnings by the number of sale transactions for the year. Let's say the business concluded 250 sales over the previous financial year and adjusted earnings over the same period amounted to just over 1.4 million rand. Divide 1.4 million rand by 250 sales to arrive at the prime number of just over 5,792 rand. Every sale was worth 5,792 rand. Using this figure as a benchmark, which is not entirely fair, but we'll get back to this in a minute, we can calculate the number of sales that will be required to generate our targeted earnings of 2.3 million rand. Divide 2.3 million rand by the prime number to arrive at the number of sales that the business will have to generate to become an asset of sufficient value. Your targeted value of 9.3 million rand. The answer we get is 403 sales. Now, a minute ago, I said that using this figure of 5,792 rand as a benchmark is not entirely fair. I say this because this figure is the fruit of the current state of the business. Our objective is to transform the business into something better. However, we must work with what we have. We now have an idea of the numbers, but what should the business look like for it to generate 403 sales, to produce its product, and to do so profitably? A business is an organization consisting of people, competent individuals with the right characteristics, processes, the core and ancillary processes consisting of tasks completed in sequence to produce the product or deliver the services, and policies, the rules around how people conduct themselves in the business. Your challenge is to develop a business model that will support the goal of making 403 sales to generate 2.3 million rand in adjusted revenues. But to successfully sell the business to an investor, you must also address the value detractors identified on day one: dependency, transferability, customer concentration, indebtedness, and muddled up records. Start by thinking about people. What should the organogram of the business look like in 5 years? What must your management team look like? Investors are not looking for a job. Investors are not looking to take over from you. The investor is searching for a business with a competent management team with a strong track record of achieving results, and preferably a management team with skin in the game, a team with a vested interest in the future success of the business, a team that will likely stay on after the exit of the owner. By recruiting, training, and retaining a management team, you address the first value detractor, namely dependency. But you must go further by transferring your knowledge to new recruits, and in doing so, address the next value detractor, namely transferability. What skills must you develop within your organization? What should your sales team look like for the business to have the capacity to close 403 sales per annum? How many people will you need to produce your product or deliver your services? What do you need in finance to ensure proper credible reporting? To answer these questions, you must first understand the core and ancillary processes required to operate the business, the individual tasks making up each process, and the skills required by each team member. What are the core processes in your business? Core processes are made up of tasks that must be completed in sequence to produce your product or deliver your services. What are the ancillary processes in the business? Human resources, maintenance, administration, and security are all functions that must be fulfilled within the business. What skills are required to complete the tasks making up the core and ancillary processes? How many people do you need to complete these tasks? But having the right number of people with the right skills is not sufficient. People need guardrails, rules about how to conduct themselves. Policies are there to define roles, responsibilities, and levels of authority, to enforce best practices, to ensure that all employees act in the best interest of the business, to prescribe the methods of settling disputes, and to ensure legal compliance. In summary, you have the beginnings of a vision. You have a number, the value at which you want to sell your business in 5 years, 9.3 million rand. You understand that investors are looking for a 25% per annum return on investment and will therefore look at a business that generates at least 2.3 million rand of adjusted earnings. You calculate based on your business's prime number that you will have to close 403 sales per annum to achieve this level of revenues. You have an idea of what the business should look like in terms of people, processes, and policies to address the value detractors identified on day one. But all of this only allows your business to get onto the field, to participate in the competition for investor capital. To win at the game, your business must have a clear competitive advantage, a unique selling point, a value proposition derived from a strategy to create value on 3 levels: value for the customer, value for suppliers, and ultimately value for shareholders. In the next installment, Day 3, we consider your business's value proposition. To watch the full series, visit Constructum Online Learning on YouTube or click on the link in the post.